trailer is such a tease. Don't forget, on Tuesday, that full trailer, all of it, more than 6 seconds, will be shown live here on this channel. So hopefully that'll be super exciting to watch. I can't wait for it. Every time I get a cinematic out, I get so pumped to play Heroes, man.
I have to say about the cinematics, like the Tracer one is one of my favorites. Every single time I see it, I have to laugh. The frog in the bubble and everything that's in there, it's so cool.
The Widowmaker joke at the end. I'm trying to think, what is my favorite trailer overall? I don't know, I think I like the Stitches one, man. It makes me go through so many emotions, you know?
I love Stitches. Tracer is great. There's a couple of really good ones out there.
Well, let's find out which battleground we're going to. We're going back to the match. Let's talk HGC here. It's going to be Sky Temple. beGenius is picking the battleground here. And there is a chance for Dignitas to finish this one with a clean 3-0.
Yeah, there is a good chance that they can make that happen. So we have beGenius again electing to take the map pick over first pick.
I'm trying to think here. What did they run the last time they were on this map? I felt like beGenius had a lockdown composition that was actually doing pretty well for a while, and then they just started to fall apart. Let's see if they can actually pull that off here on this battleground. Again, I want to see the early aggression from beGenius. They ran it in the past. It went really well. So far, they've been running Dehaka, which naturally lends itself to be a bit more reserved.
Without consulting my notes here, I think the last time we saw them here was when they were playing the Meridian and Zarya composition.
Yeah.
So that was something that worked. Not in the end, I think they lost the game, but it was a very close call there. Or did they win it?
They lost that one because that was the one that was Synergy, right? And we were complaining about Synergy locking down Murder the entire time. That's right.
I actually think that's the one they won.
Yeah, that's the one that they actually walked away with victory on.
They took the game with a victory, but it was a bit of a weird setup there. We had this idea on the side of Synergy to go for a blow-up comp, but they were targeting Muradin all the time, and with Zarya behind, that wasn't really successful. But I wasn't quite convinced there by beGenius either. I really just need to change it. Again, you are already confirmed for the Crucible. Try stuff. This is the moment when you can really say, okay, we are going to go a bit out of our comfort zone because what we've been trying so far as a standard has not worked.
You can always go for the whisper strats. You just whisper Bakery and say, hey, what if you guys just lose this match? And then we get a win on the board. Let's go that route.
What are you talking about?
That's what I would do.
Get out of here.
Play.
It's like, dude.
beGenius getting ready for their ban. Tassadar already
Trigger
banned
warning.
on. Trigger warning. I go in for it, man. You know, sometimes you got to try the odd strategies, you know, fight a little dirty.
You go to Mena and say, like, I'm going to buy you a couple of croissants at the next event?
I mean, you don't want to go for full crazy stuff, but, you know, sometimes maybe a little mercy could be good, right? Zeratil getting their first ban here. beGenius, again, we want something from you. Dignitas switches it up, though, and they pick up the Dehaka.
Yeah, Dehaka, globals. We're talking globals again. Sky Temple, so globals, of course, gain the extra value. And beGenius, come on, boys, you got something here. Especially banning out the Zeratul.
Yeah, I think this is a match where you actually do pick up the false head now with Dignitas grabbing the Dehaka. Dignitas was the first one to show in the last couple weeks that the global strat, double global, is still very strong here. So you got to grab the false stat and then potentially move into something else here. I wouldn't mind them grabbing the Lucio. Problem is, Malfurion's still up.
I would not mind them going full Clown Fiesta at this point, to be honest with you. Not in the sense that just throw random stuff out, but go for something out of the ordinary.
Wonky, yeah.
Go for a push strategy. Go for some kind of like cheese strat in the back. And this is a map where for example, we had Morales trying to go for a medevac strategy where you go in and you snipe keeps. Do something that could work for you, because every time we see them try something extremely normal, it just backfires completely. This is a strong start into the draft, no doubts about that. Arthur's false stat, but here comes the Abathur again for Dignitas and the Lucio. Very reminiscent of the last game already, that Lucio and Abathur combo. Dehaka adding an extra global on top of that. Dignitas wants to play the macro game.
Is Abathur back? This is the 4th time, I think, in the last 2 weeks that we've seen the top 3 run Abathur.
Abathur has definitely a place in the meta. It feels in the games that we are seeing here right now, it also plays a role who you're facing. Dignitas feels very confident going into this game, but Abathur definitely has a place. With Greymane making such a jump in priority, you always can pick an Abathur and really threaten that double Greymane play. But you have, of course, problems with that, and we've seen that attempted to exploit when it was Fnatic who were trying to play the Abathur comp, and all of a sudden the Lost Vikings appeared on the other side. So trying to exploit that this weaker early game. There's definitely strategies you can use against that, but Abathur is definitely a hero that we could see a bit more often now that heroes like Greymane rise in priority again. Okay, well, beGenius thinking about that Greymane right now, and possibly the Zul'jin once again here. They have to figure out which one they would like to ban out and not have to face off against. If you're wanting to run multiple tanks here, it might be better to ban out the Zul'jin, so they're going to go ahead and ban
out Zul'jin to make sure they don't have to deal with it, but the Greymane is still available.
And again, if you guys are looking at the Zul'jin banner and you're a bit confused by that, and you're just looking at it saying, hey, I don't really understand what's going on here, it's mainly because Abathur together with Zul'jin can be really strong. The increased attack speed is already brutal. If you have a double Zul'jin coming in, he can just simply chunk the tanks away, and Dignitas has shown exactly that just recently. So this is something where beGenius just has done their research. They know that with an Abathur on the side of Team Dignitas, that is a valid threat against them. Their front line is always a bit weaker normally. This time they actually have a very cool tank here. Arthur's very beefy, but they just don't want to deal with a double Zul'jin that other teams fell to already in the past.
You know, piling on top of that, just naturally looking at the Lucio being available here too. Lucio is one of the best healers for keeping Zeratul or Zul'jin around that mid 50% mark he wants to be for that attack speed. And then you also have the panic button for the shield barrier at the very end if he has to pop as Digno. So Zul'jin just works naturally with the comp for Dig.
Yeah, and let's not forget that one of the big benefits of having Lucio is the movement speed. And oftentimes when you have a Zul'jin, disengage is one of the issues you have. This is mitigating that problem. All of a sudden, Greymane coming into play. I like that. Greymane definitely a good pick for them. Bringing the Charism into play now too.
Okay, so we're getting our wonkiness now here. You get a lot of damage with the Charism. You get the potential to save your teammates too if there is ever a person that does get burned down. Also, if you really want to, if you go in for a hard engage, drop 7-sided strike, and with an Abathur being on the field, that's one less body being available, especially a tank. So there are possibilities here for beGenius.
Johanna and Vala being used now. Vala turning into that hyper carry once again, being supported by two heroes, Lucio and the Abathur, having two frontliners. So this is going to be pushing out quite a lot on damage on one hero. Vala is going to be the priority target for beGenius. If Greymane can take down Vala, they have a very good team fight ahead of them.
I'd like the two pickups here for Team Dignitas, the Johanna and the Vala. Both are just great with Abathur. Johanna being in the front line, being tanky, getting an extra shield, and also poke damage from Abathur can be great for diving those back lines. And then Vala at the same time, getting a hat is always great. When I'm hatted as a Vala from an Abathur, oh, I feel so good.
And while we're talking about this being a 2-0, Dignitas dominating this, I really want to use this opportunity to once again just invite everybody to learn something from this. Look at the compositions that are being played and try to translate that into your own Hero League games. Get rid of that triple backline BS that we oftentimes see still. The meta has changed so much. A lot of people argue that this is HGC teams, you can only do that on the high competitive level, but it's really the strength of the composition as is. Melee heroes are gaining more and more priority. We oftentimes see triple melee now. A double tank is more or less the standard, and even if you don't want to commit to a double tank, go into a single tank, have another melee at your sides, either an off tank or you can go for melee assassin. But these triple backline strategies, they have been out of meta for so long, so if you want to improve your own Hero League rating as well, start to just like shift your own thought process a bit. It's going more and more towards a single hyper carry supported by a lot of either supports or tanks, or you have a double backline, but that's mostly it. One AA attacker for the sustainable damage, and then a mage for just a bit of heavy burst that you can provide in team fights to drop a target.
Yeah, basically learn the control game, because that's where the meta really is right now. Controlling fights, finding a small edge, and then being able to exploit it and push that element as far as you can due to being robust because you have multiple tanks, or of course the supports to cover those band-aids. Now, looking at this draft, you asked for some Clown Fiesta, we get a little bit of some Clown Shoots here. We get Illidan, we get Charism, and we get Greymane. We get Dive Comp, which is pretty heavy, and the pickup on Falstad, taking away that Mighty Gust away from Dignitas, allows for them to be aggressive against an Abathur comp.
I actually like this comp. I think it's not too bad. The Charism is one of the heroes where you can argue would Orega have been better here with the setup that they're running, but of course he is one that is very mobile as well, and at the same time he has that panic button dropping a palm, so he can really help Illidan out. I think that setup for them is one of the better drafts that they had so far. I like this, for example, way more than I like what they had on Towers of Doom.
Okay, well, we're ready for it. Sky Temple. Dignitas and beGenius going at it. Dignitas leading 2-0 and can possibly close out this series. Okay, over here on the left side, the honors are yours, Caldor.
Starting to the left side in blue, we have Zelia on the Haka for Team Dignitas. Mena is playing Vala, JPL on Johanna. Bakery playing Lucio, and Snitch once again on the Abathur.
On the right side in the red with the Dive City composition, Unstable will be on the Charism watch for those punches. Danatan on Arthas to help control the fight. Erikine on Illidan, that's going to be a fun one to watch. Kiravois here for Falstad, and last but not least, Tank for the win on Greymane.
So having Illidan now in the game is pretty cool. It's not really the hero that you see that often. It's a little bit of a weird way to phrase it, but Illidan has usually other maps where he really shines. On Sky Temple for the longest time he was a bit disregarded. It's not really a priority pick that often here, but we have seen him. This just hurts. It really is. Oh.
You feel so bad for beGenius because you want them to succeed on something here, but Dignitas answers every single time. They set up in a spot here where they could rotate to top lane, middle lane, or bottom lane based on how beGenius came in for the aggressive play. Johanna with the big flank into the drag just got a false dad kill.
It's just so sad for these guys that they are really trying, especially in the early game, but no matter what they do, Dignitas just has their number. It's of course not only about beGenius, it's really Dignitas just playing this extremely well, realizing what's going to happen, that a push against structures is imminent. They make the correct rotation and then they go for one target as a unit and drop it. Dignitas doing this extremely well. You still have to send someone top lane though, because that wall is about to fall.
Yeah, Abathur up there can't handle the pressure of Illidan and Arthas diving for two reasons. One, he can't put his body near that fort. And two, if he does do that, you're going to have Illidan actually dive in and dive on top of the tower and potentially kill him off. So Abathur forced to sit up there and soak passively, which allowed for 2 turrets to be taken down. beGenius, despite losing Fawcett early, did get to level 3 quicker than their opponents.
They did. They also dropped a couple of structures, which from a structural viewpoint is always great. So they're not just simply rolling over and dying here. But still, let's see how much of an impact Illidan is going to have in this. It's interesting to see that Karazim also went straight into the Iron Fist here. Once again, Celia moving in, Danatan, there's still no drag. Nice timing, they're going for it, and Arthas is going to fall. Yeah, okay. That would have been very surprising if you got away from this one. But then again, they get the kill. Mena now with the punishment on level 4 as his talent. And also I like that JPL adjusted his build a bit. I'm still not really sold on the Blessed Momentum that he still uses on level 7, just simply because, as I explained before, it's not really the best talent for Johanna since it only gives you 0.5 reduction on the cooldowns. But the Laws of Hope, that's something that he neglected even last week, and this time he's looking more towards the own self-sustain, even with Abathur plus Lucy on the mix.
Maybe that's a question we can ask the team if they do win this year in the interview. Ask why Johanna continues to go that route. They may not have it, but still one that we can hit them up for. Greymane did sit in the middle and got a decent amount of shots here, which allowed beGenius to rotate down and get some shots on the side here. But overall, Dignitas, again, with that Abathur composition, a little bit ahead in experience here. They're getting these kills. The rotations have been quick enough. And speaking of rotations, here comes Dahaka. Could get Tank for the win or Erkin here. He does hit Illidan and Erkin, goes for the dive, and then dies.
And that's another kill right there for Dignitas. And while we're talking about talents, let me also quickly talk about the Fawcett build here. So what you usually see these days is Fawcett going into Season Marksman on level 1 and then following that up with the heal on the auto attacks on level 4. And this is like the standard build to go for. There's 2 variations from it. One is that you go for the shield on level 4 then. And that's normally something that happens when you have a very dive-heavy melee assassin on the other side. If you have a Zeratul, for example, against you and Illidan, something along those lines, you want to have a bit more safety, so you use that as a tool. Once the hero jumps in, you simply use the Storm, and with that you have a pretty good setup here to survive a little bit longer. The third variation is what we're seeing here used by beGenius. It's something that Hazobs for Team Liquid is also playing, where you're just trying to get the extra range on the barrel roll. And first of all offers you a path of escape and chase, and it also allows you later on after level 10 to put yourself into a better position when you are trying to use your Mighty Gust. So if you are attempting to go into a flank position, to use the Gust there. So all of these 3 are valid. It always depends on what your opponent is running against you and what the thought process and the role of your hero is going to be in your own team composition.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how he uses those Mighty Gusts due to the fact that Arthas is one of their main engagers. He may have to be aggressive with trying to knock back Dignitas away from a fight so they can focus down on a target like Dahaka or even Johanna in this case. If she pops Iron Skin, you can Gust and keep her locked down while Illidan starts to break her down.
Yeah, this is probably the one build that is still the least common. Normally we see the hammer gains as mentioned, and then static shield is the one behind that if there's a melee assassin on the other side. But it's really interesting to see how versatile this is and how flexible you need to be with your builds adjusting to an opponent. There's definitely standard builds that gain a lot of value and that people should know when they want to play a certain hero, but there are also adjustments that you have to make depending on what your opponent is attempting to do.
Yeah, knowing your hero inside and out would be one of the best ways to climb in Hero League. You don't have to play the guideline builds that have been thrown out there. But basically, Scott, we're saying here, look at your options and know what they do.
Yeah, to an extent. The one thing that I want to really highlight when we're talking about this, while we now have the temples being traded here, is builds matter. Yes,
they do.
Yes, your flexibility is always nice, but if you don't know a hero completely in depth, going for a standard build that you see here on the broadcast played by HGC teams is your best choice still. Snowflake builds can be funny if you're playing quick match, if you play unranked draft, or if you don't really care about your rank. But if you find yourself in Hero League, build optimization and talent optimization is a really, really important aspect of the game. And you should look towards the pros, what they're using. Sometimes there's certain builds that might not be translating one-to-one into lower ranks, but normally it's still the best build to go for, and something where you just need to learn and adapt to the build that is being used because it has been proven to be the strongest. Of course, evolution with builds always happens, but there are standards that are important to know.
Just make sure you're willing to understand why certain builds are being played, though. Make sure to take those guidelines and run with them, right?
Yeah, it's a good example is global heroes.
Yeah.
A lot of people understand that global heroes are very important on bigger maps, and then they pick a global hero, but they do not understand what to do with it. So you will see a Dehaka that uses his burrow to move from the core, another kill at the top lane here, to move from the core back into the battleground. So he uses the Hearthstone to heal up and then burrows back into the battleground. And that's not how you should use your global. Globals are being used to gank other lanes and to also just like soak experience and then join a team fight. And a lot of people that use globals just don't really understand that. This is a great place to learn all of these things and try to apply them to your own play.
All right, well, we'll see if Dignitas will use the globals, as you mentioned there. They actually have the pressure on the top lane, and they have in the rotation, so they've gotten many kills here by bringing the Dehaka in for an aggressive play. Now, that does require a bit of communication, but if you ping a few times, you can definitely let your teammates know, hey, I'm coming in here, let's get a takedown. Now, with this batting pass level 10 here, we're starting to get to a point where we are in mid-game. Forts are starting to fall apart. Dignitas does have the lead on towers as the top fort and the middle fort are low on health. beGenius continues to hang in there, though.
Look at this. Here comes the hunt. We have Hinterland Blast. Oh, a nice dodge there. So I was just about to talk about the synergy here, but Zelia is falling. That was well done. And they take the copy down on Snitch. But look at the talents that we have for beGenius on level 10. They have the hunt and they went Hinterland Blast. So what they're trying to do here is they hunt in, they use the Hinterland Blast on the stun target. Greymane goes for the throat and they try to obliterate them. They also can use Syndragosa. So this is them trying to roll over an opponent. And I love that they commit to it because this is one of the things we've been talking about the entire time. Be a little bit more aggressive and just try something.
Everything beGenius has here screams offense. The hunt into the Herald Blast and their Ghost on keeps. They ever get a boss. You have Karazim here with the 7-sided strike. They want to blow up targets, which is one of the best ways to beat an their composition. If you take out one member, as mentioned, suddenly it's not a 4v5, it's a 3v5 in a sense.
If you're playing a lot of quick match with friends, one of the things you can do is an old school alpha composition where you go Tyrael, Falstad and Nova. And the only idea behind it is every single fight that you approach starts with Tyrael going in with a judgment, locking a target down. They have Falstad, Hinterland Blast immediately after that and a precision strike. Just blow that target up. If you're playing on a little bit lower leagues, then there's a good chance that your opponent's support doesn't use cleanse properly, and that's a guaranteed kill for you. The higher you of course go, the more these compositions fall off because support play on the other side becomes better and better. But this is something that beGenius is more or less trying to do here right now. They are trying to just get these insta-kills to turn it into an early 4 versus 5 and then carry the team fight from there.
You just put a tear in my eye, man. You just mentioned the Nova composition. I'm so proud of you, Caldor.
And I mentioned it where? In quick match. Where it belongs.
Fair enough, fair enough. I mean, it's good against Probius.
You
so
special snowflake here.
All snowflakes are perfect, man. They told me that when I was younger.
They told me I was special.
They did. They did. All right, well, 14-13, beGenius has yet to have an opportunity to actually use this composition, this blow-up comp, actually very well. Dignitas has been playing very reserved. If anyone is ever exposed, it's usually the Johanna, and Johanna is the one that can walk away from the hunt to drop the Iron Skin, and that completely negates the Hinterland Blast follow-up. So Dignitas is holding on here.
Dehaka also did really nicely when he immediately went for the burrow. So Zelia already showing his own skills off. He died in the end anyways, but it looked pretty cool when you saw the immediate hunt coming in and that backfiring a bit. But Dignitas is still in a decent spot here. If you look at the minimap, we see beGenius fighting back. They lost most of their forts here. But at the same time, we also see that Dignitas lost the one at the top, the one at the bottom, the one in the middle is still very low. And at this point, it really becomes about boss play, about the next objective. And Dignitas is, of course, aiming for an earlier 16. And then, with that, they could just simply try and aim for a boss.
Okay, Zelia comes in, hits the Dragon on Arthas. There's the Hinterland Blast. Not quite out yet. We're going to see if he's going to hit here. It should be hitting on here where they can group up multiple people, but Gearbot doesn't go for it, and Arthas just dies.
Another reason why Illidan picks Hunt is that he wants to have a pseudo-global. With the cooler reduction on your auto attacks, what you have is that you can simply hunt into a fight whenever you need to, and you can then take the offlane. So he acts a little bit like a global hero. The problem is that the fight was happening so far down the map that Illidan couldn't hunt in yet. You could see him moving from the top a little bit towards the middle, attempting to hunt in. The problem was Arthas died too fast. So Illidan couldn't make that move in, and then decided to stay at the top and simply push.
Yep, so instead he goes for the push here. He's trying to get 16 for his team, while Dignitas just runs down the runway here, sashaying away, attempting to grab the keep here, get it down to 16, and start looking at the keep for some damage. Now, beGenius does have some solid defense for bosses, Greymane, Arthas in particular. You have Karazim that can knock it down. So Dignitas gets a big push on the bottom, and with the temples activating in 10 seconds, they reserve the right here to set up and grab those instead.
So, 16, any second now. beGenius is starting to grab their talent, and then they could force these fights again. At this point, things are still looking okay for them. They have not lost the keep yet. They are still fighting here for their chance. This is one of the closer games that we had, even though the death count doesn't really tell the story.
That it does not. Now, beGenius, if they are going to make a play, now's the time.
Yeah.
Unstable, moves in. Starts punches on JPL. Here is the hunt. There's the Hinterland Blast, and the combo works.
And they go in for the kill. They take down Lucio. He doesn't have that cleanse. Mene also falling here. This is exactly what we talked about. A triple kill. beGenius is back.
That was a great play here. The lack of cleanse not working out there. Dignitas unable to survive. And now beGenius going for the keep, and they might go for the win.
This is... okay.
What? Erikeen? Come on, man.
Come on, dude. You're better than that. He could have jumped out of this one, I think. But they are... with Illidan, they could have finished this, I feel.
Yeah,
if they had Illidan and he would be healed, they could have finished it. Now Zelia is trying to get another kill there. But they get the keep, and that was important. But here, the lack of cleanse on the side of Dignitas comes into play. We talked about it earlier with Tyrael as an example with Judgment Place. For the Hunt, the same is true. If you don't have a cleanse on the other side, then only the Johanna can negate it, and of course the Dehaka, as we've seen earlier. But that was a great play. The keep has fallen. They missed the opportunity to go for core because Illidan died. But overall, that was pretty strong.
And this is the problem, though, with them actually dying on the keep there. They were going for a core call potentially, but with Illidan dying off, they were forced to retreat. Zelia kept them there with the help of an Abathur hat, which allows for Dignitas to just rotate in and continue grabbing this tower, which now puts pressure on the keep in the middle. Now, again, with the keep being down, beGenius is technically ahead as they'll have catapults going, but they've given Dignitas another chance, which hurts.
Yeah, beGenius with Illidan could have ended this for sure. Illidan is incredibly strong on the core. He just has so much sustain and so much damage. So this would have been an opportunity. But still, they just killed 3 heroes. They won a very clean fight, and they just blew up Lucio. And this is also a statement towards Bakery. It's like, dude, if you just move out once out of position, we are going in for you. Syndragosa did wonders there. We had that blow-up that we've been talking about. So that was extremely well coordinated. Once that your support is off, you are having a rough time. And that's what we saw in the last team fight.
Well, for now, we're going to have Dignitas working towards level 20. They would love to grab that, grabbing Mercenaries for the left side to keep in with the push, while beGenius continues to group up. Now, when does this boss spawn here on the left side? It should be relatively soon. If they're okay, it's 1 minute and 30 seconds, so that should be up by the time 20 hits. So that could be the point where we have both of our teams collide just to grab a victory.
Especially since we are having 20 being so close, this is something that Dignitas is going to try and get before they engage into any battle. Ideally, they would want to just stretch that gap a bit larger so that they can make sure to have an advantage in the next battle. But yeah, the level 20 is also going to be interesting on the side of Illidan. He has a couple of cool options with this. Also the damage increase on the side of Falstad, if he decides to go that way. There's definitely a lot of plays that we could see right now on 20. The power spikes are going to be super funny once that we have that comp just getting stronger with a single target. That is ideally what beGenius is trying to do here.
That Illidan range, by the way, was the reason why we saw Dehaka go to the bottom there and soak that experience. Illidan showed himself top, which showed that Dehaka, okay, well, we don't have anything that can come our way. Dehaka is in no threat of getting in trouble. Dignitas goes in for engage, though, and they catch Greymane. They follow up there with the big Rain of Vengeance. Another one connects. Danatan hoping to retreat.
And, of course, the frost shots coming in. They're trying to blow up Bakery again. He drops the sound barrier, though. That's the problem. Illidan is still in. It was a great attempt, but it was not enough. And now they lost 3 heroes. Getting that initial kill just meant so much for Dignitas.
Yep, that was a Hail Mary play there from beGenius, hoping to kill off Lucio and give them at least some numbers in the fight. But with it not occurring, Dignitas takes out the keep, and they move towards the core, looking for a 3-0 victory.
Dignitas moving towards the core now, trying to make this a 3-0. Karazim with his ult. He tries to dash out. Doesn't look like it's going to happen. It's the end of him. Karazim dead, only Illidan surviving, and he cannot 1 versus 5 here. The core is going to fall, so does Illidan. This is game, ladies and gentlemen. Team Dignitas takes the series with a 3-0. GG, taking down beGenius and claiming victory once again.
Dignitas and Western Clash, it just looked like such a great cohesive unit. All of their matches have been so strong and so powerful. Dignitas, again, congratulations to them for getting another victory. beGenius, on the other hand, that's another loss and still have yet to earn a victory in the HGC.
They showed some signs of life, though, in the last game at least. I would have loved them to try that already a bit earlier, but the idea was definitely there. They got a bit unlucky at the end because they got caught and lost the hero immediately. That was more or less what they were trying to do, but Dignitas just turned it around. They had opportunities in that last game, but once again, they fall short. The big 3 are just too strong.
Yeah, and to be a bit fair, the surprise there at the end was a bit aggressive from Dignitas. Right before 20 hitting, it was like a small margin where they just identified, okay, Illidan's still in the top lane. Hunt, while it is pretty good, it's not an instant ability. There is a bit of a wind-up, so if you get in there and you kill that Greymane quickly, like Dignitas just did, you just immediately win the team fight. So they took a small risk, but it's one that really paid off, and Dignitas calculated it, just knowing that their opponents weren't close enough, and that is what earned them the victory, obviously. I do like that beGenius turned around and tried to go for the hunt into the blow-up on Lucio, because at that point, you're in a high-risk, high-reward situation. You're going to have Dignitas running you over, whether it be a boss or, of course, or pushing all 3 lanes that they were already doing. So the call did make sense.
And if you think about the composition they played, that was the closest game out of the 3. So when they were finally in a position where they said, okay, we are going to try something here. Not something that they never shown before, but something more aggressive. We finally are going to start to take our engagements here, and we're going to play a lot more aggressive than we did on the first 2 maps. That was the map that was the closest. So in the future, I would love them to see that a bit more.
Yeah, they are obviously trying to fit themselves into the meta of what the other teams are running, but sometimes you have to find your own identity before you start to branch out. I mean, look at Expert. They found their identity, and now they can play these non-meta for them, meta compositions, and they do just well. Just beGenius, man. If you're listening to this broadcast, do you. Do you. It's one of the best things that you can actually do. Just play out the way you want to play the game, and then from there, continue to expand once you get a few victories under your belt.
Nothing to add there. This is also true for Synergy, for example.
Yes.
Synergy is another team that has a very aggressive style, a very unique style. They have a couple of picks that other teams just don't use, but it works very well for them.
Yeah, and so for you at home, one of the things that you can learn about today are these Lucio anti-compositions are starting to become a bit of a big deal. You're seeing these lockdown comps with the Tyrael Judgment and now the Illidan with the Hunt into the Hinterland Blast. It's really cool to watch. So is there another one that was brought up by Caldor over there, the wonderful Engage with Nova Precision Strike. These things are possible. Work with your team, communicate, and try and figure it out. Quick match. Quick match is where you learn it, but if you're feeling confident, I wouldn't mind pulling off a Hero League with a friend or two. Just, let your teammates know, hey, I want to run this. I want to go in. We have Snitch on the phone here. Snitch, thank you for joining us.
Someone has his mic muted.
Can we hear you?
Is it not working again?
There we go. We got you in there. Okay. There it is. Snitch, congratulations on your victory. Tell me about Dignitas, man. You guys, every single match, are just looking better and better.
Yeah, I think we've had a lot of time to gel. We're definitely still improving as a team, I think, even now. But yeah, we're definitely reaching a point where I think we can solidly say we're one of the best in Europe again.
Did you have any fear of possibly losing that game there on Sky Temple whenever we had the entire blow-up happen on Lucio and Vala, and we had Illidan diving into a keep?
No, I was 100% sure that I'd kill Arakin on the keep of the hat. So I was never concerned at any moment that we would lose the game here. And I knew also that Zaylee would be able to run down and then chase everyone else away. So it was fine the whole time.
Calculated. What's it like to be a god?
I mean, it's a little taxing sometimes, but I try to maintain a positive attitude and just do my best every day.
Awesome. Well, over to Caldor.
All right, now that we already established the divinity here, the one question that I have is there any team right now that you guys are afraid of? Of course, you're scrimming against the rest of the big three. Is there a team where you feel, okay, this is going to be what's going to be the roughest match for you this season?
I mean, I think Fnatic is obviously going to be our toughest match this season. You know, the Swedes are always improving. They're always matching us. Like, it's going to be the toughest game and closest game, I'm sure. And it will probably decide first place, I think, of this phase of the season. I think first place will be dictated by us versus Fnatic. I think both of us will probably win against every other team that we play.
Okay, so that's actually interesting that you say that. We've been talking a lot about Team Liquid in particular. We're going to see them later. And they are the one team that had the most trouble against someone like playing Dux, for example. You defeated them without losing a map. Fnatic did the same. Team Liquid struggled there. Do you think that Team Liquid is currently falling off and they're not really a contender for the #1 spot, even though they haven't lost this season yet?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to really say. Like you say, they do definitely look weaker against teams that us and Fnatic haven't been struggling against. But I mean, it could just be a bad day. They could be struggling with the meta. Like, it's tough to call before we actually play them. But I personally believe that, yeah, they've kind of shifted into the third spot after the Western Clash, and I'm not sure they're able to make up the room in time. But they are obviously all really high-skilled players. You know, they've got Dark, they've got Nurok, you know, they've got Splendor, who's a great